We are going live. I am live. All right. Control copy. Edit page. Scarborough Fair. Enter. Oops. Enter link to join. Control V. Link. Enter. Link. Settings. Open a new window. Update. PWA. So that should be PWA. That's good. Come on in, have a seat, get tuned up. Make sure I got my other page set up properly. All right, it's coming in. And I click here to make sure it links to me. Oh, look how beautiful I look. I look ridiculous. All right. If you are listening in, if you'll let me know if the sound is making sense, I would appreciate that. Worked a long time on sound today, and we want it to be as good as possible. So again, please let me know if one of you, well, I think it's right there, your chat box. One of you will say, sounds good. That's all I need, okay? To make sure I'm not just sitting here with no sound coming out of my face. We're going to be working on Scarborough Fair today. So if you have, sound is good. Thanks, Lanny. Appreciate it. We're going to work on Scarborough Fair today. So if you haven't gotten the sheet music yet, swing on by denverguitarorchestra.com, and Scarborough Fair sheet music is sitting on the front page, or on the sheet music page you can get both linked to the same piece of music, and we'll get started playing this one today. And it's going to be beautiful. It's a really nice song. It's old. I can't remember what year, 16 something or other. I mean, it's an oldie. And hey, Linda, keeping you busy today. And so go ahead and get set down, get your guitar in whatever position you like to play in. We'll talk about guitar positioning. You're level 3 today, so we should not be talking overly much about guitar position, but maybe a little bit. My suit, my foot pedal here, and we'll start in. Let's wait another minute or two. Let's see. Linda, are you actually playing all these songs? I'm impressed that you're writing out all this extra work. For hopefully you're enjoying. Hopefully this is something that you're actually enjoying, right? Arlo, welcome in. Glad you're here today. Arlo, you probably played this song 100 times. And Michael, I'm glad you're here again. Michael, do you got your baritone? You got your guitar? And that's always my question as to what's that guy up to. Well, we'll start in about a minute, guys. We've been getting more and more lurkers. I point here. This is where it tells me how many people are in the room. And I don't know if you guys have that same widget on yours, probably not, but it tells me how many people are in the room. And it's interesting on ukulele, it goes right up, and then it comes, and then usually right at the peak, and then it sort of levels off. In guitar, what it does is goes whole bunch, not so many, whole bunch, not so many, whole bunch, not so many. And I think a lot of people are wandering YouTube and they just have guitar set in there as their search function, and they see something live on guitar and they log in hoping that I'm going to be one of these pretty girls, and then they're gone pretty quickly. So it's interesting. The other thing I think it's super fascinating, and you guys have seen this if you type in just classical guitar, the first page is almost entirely females playing classical guitar, which is very exciting. The problem is in real life there's almost no classical guitar players that are female. They're all males, and so it's delightful. The message that YouTube sends on its front page is like, hey, women should be playing guitar. And then when you go to any guitar guitar competition ever, you're like, it's all, 20-year-old boys, and they're nice boys, but it's just funny, the difference of what you see and what you get, kind of thing. Um, um, yeah, Linda, honestly, I think it's fascinating when you are working on this type of music. Playing the melody is so important. Tough. I tend to pick songs to arrange based on which ones have great melodies, not on what is going to make a great tough axe. I want it to have a really beautiful melody, and so when I'm home and I'm thinking about songs to arrange, I'm thinking about melody. And then when I actually arrange something, of course, the hard work goes into getting the tough acts done. But I do think you're making a smart decision, generally speaking, about just playing the melodies, just seeing how close you can get the guitar to and or the ukulele, either one, to sound like what you want it to sound like. And so, yeah, that's awesome. Oh, it does say six is watching. Okay, good. That makes me happy that you guys can see that too. That's baritone. My printer is getting a workout. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with that. I didn't print out anything. I was in real estate, right? And you don't print out anything until you absolutely have to, and then when you do, it's important. Um, and then when I was a school teacher, I tried to print as little as possible, even though you end up printing a frustrating amount. But in music, you almost end up having to have a printer, and I almost have to have a pretty decent printer because of all of the little details that you want to print out in music. Really, it tends to be a pretty good workout on your printer. I have ended up, I own a really pretty high end printer here at the house. Plus, I own another high end printer at the shop. Plus, I end up sending all kinds of stuff to Kinko's all the time for even the higher end stuff. And so, yeah, we end up wasting a little bit of paper and music, but it's worth it. Once you print it out and get it set up, you gotta create your own book. Instead of just going out and buying. Black Sabbath on ukulele book or whatever. Too many people do that, and they end up. I mean, I have several shelves full of books that I will never actually use that I paid for. um, just learn to write your own music, and then you don't have to waste money on that. And yes, I'm out of printer paper and can't make notes on and things on the computer. Yeah, I bought a little gadget that I've been using to teach with that is sort of like a giant Kindle, and you can make notes on it. But I don't know, it just doesn't have that same sense of. I love making notes on my sheet music, and so I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but it's just not the same. Hey, Alan, hola. Yeah. Here's what happens with some of the sheet music that switches from guitar and ukulele. The ukulele stuff, all what I here's what I have found, and I found it out by doing harmonic music. Actually, you get the melody the way you want it, and then you find out it's either going to work pretty well on ukulele or it's going to work pretty well on guitar, but it's unlikely to work well on both of them because there's so much depth and dark, beautiful, well-rounded tone that comes out of guitar. And ukulele really wants to be much more punchy and in your face and a lot brighter. And so I have found that I can't just write everything in the key of A, for example, which is good on guitar and on ukulele, and have it work out. It just doesn't work that way. And the ukulele, because it's tuned higher, sometimes stuff ends up way too high. Sometimes it ends up exactly where you want it and it ends up way too low on guitar. And so I do sometimes think that I wish everything would work out a lot more conveniently than it does, but it doesn't. And so and by the way, guys, if you're tuning in, you got a pretty good sense of what I'm up to anyway. But if I put out a piece of sheet music and you don't like the key that it's in and you say, hey, it's too low or it's too high or whatever, all you gotta do is send me an email. It's not that difficult in my software to change the key. It does sometimes require me to rewrite the entire tough axe line or the entire tough uke line, and sometimes I'm willing to do that, and sometimes I'm not. Usually, when I'm putting out sheet music, I want it to work well for the instrument that I put it out for. So I think this works out pretty well on guitar. It's a little on the low side. I think I wanted that sort of sadness in this song, and so it's in E minor, and you might say, "Oh, Gary, it's too low," or I'm playing baritone and I keep running out of notes I'm missing these two strings, and so maybe for you we'd try an A minor or possibly G minor. We push it up and see what happens. So if you ever have a song where you're like, "Yeah, I really, really love this song, I really want to do it, but it's just not working out on my instrument that I'm doing," toss me an email and I can look and see how easy it is for me to convert it for you. I think well, like for example, earlier this week I was getting all of me ready for the ukulele group. I tried it in three different keys, so now I have it in three different keys of the key I published it in, and finally made the most sense in terms of playability. It's easier to play it in that key, but I don't necessarily know if it sounds better in that key. Though one of the other keys I picked was much harder to play it, but I thought it sounded a little bit better. So picking a key is one of those things where there's some of it's what sounds good to you, some of it's what fits well on the instrument, some of it is how hard you want to work at playing, and all of those things factor into what the sheet music says in front of you. Now, when we get together as a group, the sheet music is the sheet music. It is what it is, and that's what we're going to use. But don't be shy about sending me an email and saying, "Gary, I love a Scarborough Fair, but I want to play it on my guitar. It's just too low. Let's pick and boost it up." And I can take a look and see what would entail. Most of the time, it doesn't entail too much work, but sometimes it does. And then I tell you, it's not worth my time. And then you have to move on and start playing "Achy Breaky Heart," and you'll like it. All right, let's see. Um, yeah, and yeah, I arranged it low on purpose. I wanted to take advantage of this sound. That's what I liked. All right, that sounds beautiful on guitar, right? And so that's why I put it in this key. I mean, that sounds like, "Are you going to Scarborough?" You're really low, but it may not necessarily work on your instrument. And so I do have I think not every song, but almost every song I have on guitar, I've also already arranged for ukulele, and it's probably in a different key. So just toss me an email and we can see. Especially baritone players, when you run out of these strings down here, on a guitar arrangement, which happens, right? It's easy to wander the internet and find some tablature for different songs, but it's normal for them to just drop the melody clear down onto the fifth string. Then you're kind of in a pickle, right? Because they're trying to take advantage of these nice long strings and get as much resonance out of the guitar. That's why you'll see that happening. I think generally in my sheet music, because I spend a lot of time on ukulele, I tend to play a little bit higher up here. I tend to spend a little more time on these lower strings than certain other arrangers. And obviously the end result of that is, have Gary help you learn how to do your own arrangements, and then you can decide how you want your music to come out. And I'm always happy to at least get you started in that. Arranging is kind of my full-time gig at this point, and well, teaching's still my full-time gig, but I do a ton of arranging, and there are tricks and things that I learned over the years that can speed the process along. But it's something that you as musicians probably ought to be thinking, "Hey, I'd like to be able to take a song that I know, go grab the sheet music, and half the time it's just piano sheet music. Sometimes it's just tablature, which is a bummer. But if you can find the actual sheet music, you can put together your own song and turn it into something really nice." All right, I've done too much talking. We're way beyond where we should have started. So let's get going on it, okay? I'm going to mention one thing before we get started. Measure 13. There, I cannot get away from the Simon and Garfunkel trick that they do there. They put in 4 beats in that measure. And right now I want you to take your pencil, which is sitting right next to you, and write 4 beats on measure 13. When I put out it'll be a little while longer, but I'm going to put out a second edition of book 3, and I'm going to fix certain, there's the book is solid. What the sheet music in there is pretty solid, but there are little this and a little that I want to make some changes on. And the one change I will for sure make is in measure 13. I'm going to turn that into a 4-beat measure, and then add the rest of the song is still in 3 beats. But Simon and Garfunkel added a little bit of a super fermata in there, and they're right. It absolutely sounds better with that 4 beats on that one measure. All right, let's go through. Let's make sure we are good with our chords. E chord, two fingers here. Okay. D chord, index finger on top, ring in middle. Okay. Got a G chord at measure 5. At measure 7, there's an A chord hanging out in there, index middle ring. And that's everything on page 1 and page 2. That's it. So that's so chord structure is relatively simple on this, which is not unexpected, right? It's a very old song. It's very, the older the song is, the generally speaking, the fewer chords they have because they got super popular. People simplified them, cleaned them up, made them fit into our idea of what music is supposed to be. And so these old songs that have hung around and are keep showing up tend to be relatively simple chord structures. I think Silent Night is the perfect example. That song is dead on exactly what you'd expect it to be from its chord structure, and that's why it's every Christmas people are singing it, and so on these real old songs you don't expect a super complex chord pattern, and that's sometimes why they're very pleasant to play. Have a great day, Alan. Thanks for stopping by. All right. I can't sing. You guys know it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Are you going to Scarborough Fair to bring parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme? 2, 3, 1, 2. Remember me to one who lives there. 3. I blew it. She once was a true love of mine. Let's play it again. 3, 1, 2, 3. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? 2, 3, 1. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. 2, 3, 1, 2. Remember me to one who lives there. 3, 4. She once was a true love of mine. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then a big E. Okay. So hopefully you're a better singer than I am, but that's how the tune goes. Okay. The song is way older than Simon and Garfunkel, but because they did such a huge, that song was a big deal back in the 70s, I think. Everybody thinks of this song as their song, and so that's why that extra beat there in measure 13, it sounds a little more like Simon and Garfunkel, and it makes a lot more sense with the song just to add that extra beat in there, and then you move on to the conclusion of this, the what you're working on. All right. So now those are your chords. Hopefully those chords, by the time you get to level 3, E minor, D, G, and A, those should all be sort of in your wheelhouse. Probably nothing there that you need to actually work on. Strumming, I just did a 3-beat strum. If you want to fancy it up and do your 4-finger pluck, that makes a lot of sense. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you want to make it really cool, add in a 6 pattern as an arpeggio. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Are you? Well, let's see. Are you going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Right, so that's what you'd be working on. I didn't spend any time putting that together, but you could. Okay, if you're a singer, that would be what I would do. Is I would be working on getting a 6 finger, a 6 beat arpeggio going through there, and then singing like a nightingale over the top of it. That's what I'd be working on. Most of you guys logging in are not singers, and so you don't need to work on that. Okay, you're going to be working on tough acts. All right, let's play the melody. Measure level 2. Basically, I expect you to be able to play the melody. We don't need to talk about how to read tablature, that sort of thing. You might want to think about how are you holding the guitar. I got a pretty decent angle on here. That's what I like. It's maybe a little far out. I might probably play it here. Is this dropping down here where this makes probably between your legs instead of on the side of your legs? Is your wrist straight? That's something you're thinking about. Are your shoulders relaxed? Is your spine straight up and down? On your right hand, are you? Is that all of this nice and comfy like this? Okay, so really, I'm doing no work holding the guitar. The guitar's mostly holding itself. I happen to have a strap on this guitar, and I'm trying to get comfy with it. It's not working out, and the guitar's sitting in your lap. That's ideal. Now, a lot of you guys are going to play cowboy style like this, and you are making your life harder. That's okay if you want to do that. You should stop, but I know a lot of you are going to do it. Okay, let's give it a try. We're going to play the melody from the top. We'll play it through twice. Let's just do it twice, the whole song. Okay, we're going to start on fret 2 of the 4th string. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, oh, 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 4, 2, oh, 4, 2. Let me start again. I totally looked at the wrong measure. Apologize. Let's start from the top. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, oh, 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 4, oh, 4, 2, 2. Oh, 3, oh, 3, oh, 2, 2, oh, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh, 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 3, oh, oh, 2, oh, 4, oh, rest, rest. 2, oh, 2, oh, 4, 2, oh, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, oh, oh, 4, oh, 4, 2, 2, 2. Oh, 3, oh, 3, oh, 2, 2, oh, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh, 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 3, oh, oh, 2, oh, 4, 3, 4, 2, oh, 2, oh, 4, 2, oh, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's a big chord at the end. I missed a couple of notes on the page turn. But what the heck are you going to do? That's part of life. If it's a song that you want to present in public, you really want to memorize the end of the page and the beginning of the next page so that you don't have any train wreck when you turn pages. In my orchestras, I got a lot of students that will end up with pages 4 wide, hoping that they never have to turn a page. Well, that makes some sense on some level, but the reality is sooner or later you're going to have to turn a page, and you probably want to get good at it. And the way to not lose your mind over it is, one, memorize the last measure and memorize the first measure on the second page. That way you don't actually have to be looking at the paper while you're keeping this hand going while you're busy turning the page with the other hand. The other thing is to let yourself be okay with missing a note or two. If you get to the end of the page, you're like, oh crap, I got to turn the page. Just don't lose your mind over missing a few notes. If you're a solo player, that's not great. But if you're in a larger group, then yeah, you miss a few notes, whatever. And I would also say, if you are a solo player, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to want to play this song. This song's never going to suck, right? It's going to be a good song forever. So spend a little bit of time to just memorize the whole thing. It's not that complicated of a song, and but when you're thinking about memorizing or creating a repertoire for yourself, make sure those songs are meaningful for you. I have, I don't know, half a dozen songs that I play religiously. When somebody goes, "Hey, play me something," I play the same group of songs forever. And if I didn't like those songs, I would get real sick and real sad real fast. And so you want to be songs that you're memorizing that are actually you enjoy, and you're going to enjoy after spending 6 months of playing them over and over and over again. That's how you choose your repertoire. Is what songs you even after you hate it, you would still be willing to play it. And so that's what I think when you're putting a repertoire together. All right, Scott, let's go through the tough acts. I will talk about every single piece of that all the way through, and then we'll go back through and we'll play it. Okay. So first thing is when we're playing tough act, we're playing chord melody, we're playing finger style. We're taking the chords, we're taking the melody, we're smashing them together, and occasionally we're tossing in decorative notes that just are part of the chord or part of the key, just to make things just so that we don't have any of these long pauses, and nothing going on. If you look at measure 8, that's a real long note. Rosemary and thyme, and it's supposed to last 5 beats. Well, if you're a solo player and you're playing chord melody, you're not going to want to just sit there and look up at your audience while you're waiting for those 5 beats to pass. You're going to do something, right? And that's where that descending bass line is that you got in the arrangement. And you don't have to do that, but it's on the paper, and it'll sound fine. Okay, we'll talk about how to think about that when you get there. Okay, so first note is 0 2 2. That's just part of your E minor chord. Hit the 2 again, and then we're going to go 5 strings of that E minor. Then you got that 0 by itself. You got a 0 4. Make sure you're using your pinky on 4s. It's really unpleasant when you first start, but it will work out and pay you dividends down the road. Okay, 0 4. And you got leave your 4s planted. Hit the 0 and come back to the 4, and then go back to your E minor. And then you've got that low 2. It's not on if you're playing baritone, it's not on your ukulele, but you don't need it really. It's just to create a pathway into the next measure. Okay, that's where we switch to the G chord. Add the 3, and then go back to your E minor. Add a 3 again. Now we're going to go to your A chord, but we're going to lift up the ring finger. Put it back down. Hit the 2, and then we're going to go back to E minor. Got some decorative notes here. High E, E minor. Hit the high E again. And we got 0 0 3. If you want to put a full G chord on there, you can. You put it on correctly. You lose the 3. Okay, next one is some zeros. We'll grab that 2. Grab the 0, and then 0 4. Make sure you let that last for 3 beats, right? So we get a 4 beats of total, and then go grab the E minor again. Hit the high, hit your B, and then hit the D chord. Now I've included the A as part of that. We a lot of times don't want to play the A string on a D chord. We like to play the D chord or the D string because it sounds more solid and then you're root noting properly. But because of the way this whole song sounds is very mysterious and weird, go ahead and include the A. You get this, get this sort of weirdness to it. Lose your index finger to get the 0, and then go grab that 4 again. Go grab the 2, grab the opens, and then back to E minor. A couple of decorative notes. These after you hit that chord, you're just going to hit some decorative notes. That's where your fingerstyle idea comes in. We're going to add in arpeggio patterns, notes out of the chord uh, in those long notes just to keep stuff flowing along. Have a great night, Arlo. That's what we're working on. Okay, it's just getting that beauty to all come together and make sure we stay busy. Okay, remember when you come through the second time, you're going to skip measure 17 and go to measure 19. You're just paying attention to first and second ending right there. Okay, all right, let's go from the top. If you're new to fingerstyle, just play the chords. If you are new to tablature, play those notes. Okay, and if you're working on tough acts, this will be a chance to compare you against me. Um, See how you're doing up against. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. I don't necessarily work on this song very often, but it's a chance just for us to play together simultaneously, and you see, can I get all of my pieces and parts together at the same time as Gary's playing them? And then the big idea with that isn't to beat me. I mean, it's not too hard to beat me. What's the real idea is when you play along with somebody, and if everything's going great, you know you're playing it at the right speed for you, and you want to keep it at that speed or speed it up a little bit. If everything's going horrible, right, it's too fast for you. So slow the thing down. With fingerstyle playing, there isn't too slow. You can always slow it down. Get yourself, make sure your fingers know what they're supposed to do. Then start speeding it up. More likely, you're probably going to be able to play mostly with me, but then there's going to be these places where you crash or I crash, and that tells you exactly where to spend your practice time. And that's what's beautiful about having your wipeouts, is that then you know exactly where to practice, and you don't have to practice the whole song. Okay, start with your E chord, E minor, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. To the top. Second ending. Let it ride. Okay, don't look this up. If you get sick of the guitar ringing out, which they ring out forever, right? Just slide your hand up here from the bottom to get the strings to stop being a pain or talking. Usually you just let it ring, right? Because then your audience is busy sleeping to their feet and showing their adulation for your efforts. And so that's what you're after there. A couple of thoughts on the song itself. This is a world classic. You will not waste any of your time studying it. I spend a little bit of time just wandering the internet the other night because the voicings here are both male and female parts. I wanted to see how legit those were, and I would say they're not particularly legit, but they are kind of fun, right? So if you were to get some friends together, you say, "Hey, we'll sing the female part and then the male part, and female part and then the male part." What I think is that it was probably originally just the male part, and then they said, "All right, let's add in a female part," right? And then that went on for a while. I would say, Simon and Garfunkel pretty much just did what we just did, which is the main idea or the main verse of it. Um, but it is kind of fun to read through those and see, hey, maybe this is something we could do as a fun thing with our guitar group or with just a friend, right? And seeing the other verses and see which ones are fun and which ones are doofy. And there's also a million billion different versions of this out there on the internet. So I put up on this piece of sheet music as what I think is a fun thing to do. I don't necessarily know how legit those lyrics are. Probably iffy at best. But it's a 400-year-old song, so you can change the words if you want to. So anyway, beautiful tune, really fun to work on, and that's level 3, right? If you are just wandering in and thinking, hey, I want to see what's going on with ukulele or guitar, denverguitarorchestra.com is where the main site for what we do here. This is level 3. This is basically the highest level we go as group instruction, and then level 4 and above we split it into private instruction, and then we also do the orchestra, which is where we take the piece and divide it up into parts where everybody can play it. So if you're interested in either of those, if you live in Denver and you haven't come to check out the Denver Guitar Orchestra, please do. And if you want private lessons, we can do that either in person or online. Any of that works. So, but go read the website. It'll tell you what's going on. Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to wrap it up today. It's 6:15. My wife and my niece went out for a walk and they haven't got back yet, which means that I'm probably going to have to go figure out what the heck's going on with dinner here in a minute. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I hope you're staying in and doing what you're supposed to do to not spread this darn thing around. We need it to stop sooner rather than later. It's driving me bananas staying home all day and not hanging out with anybody. So send me a note, send me an email if you have questions or comments or concerns. Yeah, Mike, Linda, glad you guys could come by. Thanks for being here. A couple other people already snuck out. If you're just hanging out and wondering, if you just wandered in off of YouTube or whatever, please go check it out. There's some good stuff that we're doing. And honestly, if you follow the program, levels 1, level 2, level 3, you'll be a fine guitar player at the end of level 3. And then you can complicate the rest of your life playing guitar. It's a good instrument, isn't it? And keep it going. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. We go back to level 1. I think tomorrow is Frere Jacques in first position, so we get to learn how to hold a chord and how to actually get tough uke out just using one chord and our tough axe, and it's a lot of fun. It's worth probably tuning in for. So have a good night. I will see you hopefully tomorrow, and if not, somewhere down the road. Have a great day. Ending the stream.